Hello, and welcome to Holistic Coach Education, where aspiring and established coaches come to level up. Are you thinking of becoming a coach? Let's make sure that you avoid the biggest mistakes because I've seen quite a few mistakes over the years. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mar DiCarlo. I have been a coach for over 27 years. I am the founder of the International Parenting and Health Institute, which I founded in 2009 and is currently represented in 65 countries around the world. I am also the founder of the Association of Professional Sleep Consultants. And I know there are so many of you out there that are passionate about entering into a profession that you want to help people with. You have a knack for helping people. You're just someone that people come to share their problems, and you want to be a better support system for them. Now, the thing is that there are a number of options out there. Number one, what kind of coach am I going to be? A life coach, a health coach? There's so many different kinds of coaches. What is going to be the most suitable for me? And then comes a question, do I actually need a certification? And what does a certification do? Because not all certifications are alike. We're going to get into that. So let's start by talking about that coaching is not just a passion. Although it's very helpful. And of course, your passion means everything. And you want to deliver with your passion in everything that you do. Your professional skills, your strategy, your service delivery, that matters. It's a skill set. It's a skill set that comes with practice. And so, as much as you're passionate about it, it's a journey that is important for you to be familiarized with, to learn the ins and outs about, not just the topic of the specific coaching that you're doing. So, for example, if you're a life coach and you're learning about different areas of life to support your client with versus a sleep coach where you're mostly focused on sleep, regardless of the specific coaching that you're going to be engaging in, you still have to understand the ins and outs of that particular niche that you're going to be supporting. Certifications are not all equal. I'm sure you've seen by now many ads for certification programs that, hey, this is valued at $2,000 or $4,000, but today we're going to be selling it to you for $199, or we're going to be selling it to you for $799. I've seen it all. I've even gone on platforms like Udemy, which I'm part of as well. And I've seen people offer certification programs where you're going to be certified as a coach within a day or even a weekend. So let's get into it a little bit more. Well, why is a certification program important? A certification program is important because it does a number of things. Number one, it helps you really understand what's involved in the industry. Yes, you can do research on your own, but there's nothing like a better way of just diving in and seeing, first and foremost, what's involved in this. What am I really getting into? So a certification program helps you understand that. Now, the difference in the certification programs are that you can have certification programs that usually are very low cost, they're quiz-based, exam-based, and there's not much practicality. There's also certification programs that fluff themselves up with checklists and expert speakers and tons of videos and so on, right? So they dress up these certification programs. However, there's not a practical component for you to then test it out, to experiment with. And as much as you learn and know, at the end of the day, holding the space for another individual, learning how to show up, what questions to ask, being comfortable with giving them space to reflect, learning how to deal with inconsistency or a client who is not progressing, knowing how to refer out, knowing how to deal with a potential risk or liability in any situation if there's an emergency. There's a number of things that come up that although you can read about, the practical component is what really is going to help you take it to the next level. It also tests your ability to put yourself out there, because when you are able to put things into practice, you are stepping forward, you are making a commitment, you are having the courage to get feedback from both your mentor as well as client feedback. So, for example, with the International Parenting and Health Institute, you work with volunteer clients. Those volunteer clients will fill out an evaluation form and they're going to provide feedback. That takes a lot of courage for you to put yourself out there and receive that feedback. And what that does is that prepares you. So, when you are looking to become a coach, ask yourself, how much experience do I have? Now, if you are someone, let's say that you have a background already in helping people, you've been a teacher, you've been a counselor, you've been a doctor, a therapist, you're someone that already has been communicating with clients and patients, you've been asking questions, you've had experience working with people and helping them. Will a certification still support you? It depends on the certification. So, if you're just taking a certification that's theoretical, it can give you a lot of information and help you because you have already a lot of practical experience and it could work for you. However, there are some things that, for example, in therapy or in medical school, when it comes to coaching, they do not teach you. Language is one of them. For example, typical language that's used is avoid, try this, don't do that. That language is very disempowering and can also sabotage a client. So, one of the things that you learn and you practice through role playing is using language that is going to help your client be intrinsically motivated and take action without getting into this space of resistance. That takes practice. And if you haven't practiced that before, even if you've been a counselor, even if you've been a therapist, even if you've been a doctor, you might find yourself lacking in that area a little bit. And sure, can you get through with it? Trial and error? Of course you can. However, there's nothing like being in a supportive space where the practice kicks in. So when you are seeking a certification program, what experience do I have? Now, if you already are a coach, because we've had a number of coaches come to our organization, they've come as life coaches, as health coaches, and they're looking to niche down even more because we offer specialties in adult and child sleep and pre-postnatal nutrition and so on. Now, if they're looking to niche down more and they've already have a coaching background, they might not necessarily need a full-on certification. They may just need, let's say, the theory aspect of it because they've had a lot of the practice already. However, even with that said, we've had people who've come and taken our program who already have a coaching background and said, you know what? I really have gained so much value from the mentorship. I've gained so much value going through the practical component, even though I have a strong coaching background. Ultimately, it's your choice. However, if you want to level up and you want to set yourself apart and you want to put yourself in a challenging place that will bring your skill set to another level, bring your knowledge to another level, then I do highly recommend working with the certification program that has a very strong practical component where they have mentoring in place, where you have a group dynamic in place. And what that mentoring and practical component in place includes is your participation. So it's not just a mentor talking at you and answering questions. It's your role playing. Okay. It's you're entering the space, you using language in a certain circumstance, you presenting a case study and how you work through it. It's your participation. Now, this is a real business. Some people do not take coaching seriously, and I completely understand why. When you have so many programs that are out there that are just focused on theory alone, yeah, well, can you really take a coaching industry seriously that is not so regulated? And when you have all of these programs that are offering a lot of theory, a little bit of practical or no practical at all, and you have a number of people calling themselves coaches after a few hours of training after a weekend. Absolutely. That's why you will run into people that do not take coaching seriously. However, that does not need to impact you because you can easily, through just being you. You don't have to prove anything to anybody. You can easily show people how valuable being a coach is. So, what that means is you treat it like a business, from setting your guidelines, your scope and boundaries to practice, your client agreements, your schedule, your legal structure, your systems, pay systems, everything in place, your cancellation policy, every aspect of business that is necessary to run a solid business will be included in your coaching business model. And that again includes how you show up, meaning you're on time. You're taking care of yourself and the energy that you bring. What I love so much about the coaching professional path, it's that it's just as much as a personal growth path as it is a professional path, because you will run into situations where something a client says triggers you, or a particular circumstance triggers you, a competitor triggers you. And you get to reflect on yourself and learn more about yourself and understand why that is, and then how you can grow from those situations. Let's talk about your client outcomes and truly what you're responsible for. One of the things that I see sometimes is coaches rather, guaranteeing their client's outcome. If you work with me, I guarantee you this. The reality is we can never guarantee someone else's behavior. The best that we can do is we can guide them, we can hold a space, we can show them the way, but we're not in their shoes. They're in their own shoes. And so helping them understand their level of accountability is vital. You're responsible for how you're showing up. You're responsible for maintaining everything ethically, okay, confidentiality, code of ethics. You're responsible for working things out in a neutral fashion, okay, where if you find yourself triggered, you're going back to a nonviolent communication style of communicating. So you're responsible for so many things that involve your client. But when it comes to their outcome and the results, ultimately, that requires them putting it into action. That requires them moving forward. You are a tremendous part of that equation, because it does matter that you focus on progress and not just the outcome. It does matter how you're holding the space. It does matter the tools that you are providing your client. Next, let's talk a little bit about imposter syndrome and overwhelm that you might feel. This is where, again, a certification program, a solid and high quality certification program, is very helpful. Because when you initially start out, there's going to be a level of you doubting yourself, asking yourself if you're ready, wondering if this is something that you're meant to do, right? So you may initially feel overwhelmed with a lot of self-doubt, fearful of certain outcomes, but you know that you're meant to do this. One of the reasons why the self-doubt comes in and why the worry is because of the practice part. You don't know what to expect if you have not practiced, right? If you haven't practiced the language that you'd be using in specific situations, or working through tougher case studies, or working through a resistant client, or how to refer out if signs and symptoms come up, if you haven't worked through any of that, and that's just all been intellectually fed, then naturally you're going to have a lot of fear and doubt that kicks in, and you still may throw yourself in there and you'll get through it. But why go through that if you know that you can practice beforehand? If you're in a situation where you said, well, a lot of these certification programs, they can cost anywhere from $5,000, $10,000 for these practical components. There are options. Like, for example, we're very competitively priced. So we're definitely not on the low end. We're definitely not on the high end. We're pretty much in the middle, and we offer payment plans as well. And so if you don't see a payment plan on a particular certification program that you're seeking, reach out to them and ask them, is there a payment plan that I can do for this? Because remember, that investment is worth it because you will get it back. You will get it back building a solid business. So again, imposter syndrome often happens because of the lack of the practical component, the practice. Imposter syndrome can also happen because you have had self-esteem and self-worth challenges on your path that haven't been fully addressed and faced. And the pursuing of coaching is now bringing that up for you in a way that you have not experienced that before. And again, that's why I love this path of coaching so much because it brings us so much up about ourselves. So, in that regard, when that happens, it's time for you to reflect because remember, everything that you go through and everything that you overcome is another tool, is another skill that you can then contribute in your experience with your clients. Now, I'm going to save that information for another video. We're going to talk about how much do you actually share about yourself with your clients. That will be for another video. But for today, just know that everything that you've overcome, every struggle that you're even currently having, is something that can be an opportunity to provide for your client experience. So these are some of the typical things that I normally see happens with people that are pursuing a coaching career and they don't necessarily know upfront. And they jump in and then later on they go, oh, I should have invested more in that program. We've had that happen. We've had a number of people take cheaper programs. They find us. They also hear about us through other people who have taken our programs. They said, oh, I just wish I knew about you first, because then I would have just invested everything on you and not have had to spend money on this other program, which did not give me the full package of what I was looking for. So the investment, again, is worth it. And it's a very rewarding path, extremely rewarding. You learn so much about people and so much about yourself. You are continuously reminded that we're in this together. Life is a journey that we're all going through. We're going through our ebbs and flows. It's a very beautiful thing. So if you've been called to this path, congratulations. It's a wonderful path to be on. And I just encourage you to continue doing research. If you like this video, please click the like, share, subscribe, because I'm going to be sharing with all of you so much more. In my 27 years of coaching, in my 15 years of being an entrepreneur with the International Parenting and Health Institute, I've learned so much, and I look forward to sharing with you.